You know this person. You might be this person. They're the one people call when something falls apart. Not the friend with the best advice. The friend who listens, really listens. The kind where they put their phone face down, actually face down, and give you their complete, undivided, almost unsettling attention. They remember the name of your situationship's dog. They check in after your dentist appointment. They notice you seemed a little off in a group chat message that was literally just the word haha. People say, I don't know what I'd do without you, and they mean it, and it lands warm. Except lately, after those conversations, there's this feeling. Hard to name exactly. Not resentment. They're not an angry person. More like standing in a room that used to be theirs and not quite recognizing the furniture. They're still showing up for everyone. They just have a faint, persistent suspicion they've misplaced themselves somewhere. Here's what I want to say to that person before we go any further. You're not doing this wrong. Empathy is genuinely one of the rarest things a person can have. The ability to actually feel someone else's experience, to care without being asked. That's not a flaw. Most people can barely manage their own feelings. You're out here carrying everyone else's like a very compassionate pack mule. But there's a version of empathy that quietly tips into something else. Something that looks identical from the outside. Something that feels like love from far. But when you get close, you see that you're giving so much of yourself that there's barely anything left for you. And if you've ever felt exhausted by your own generosity, or guilty for having needs, or mysteriously hollow after a week where everyone around you is fine, you've felt the difference. This video shows you the 5 signs the line got crossed and how to come back from it. I'm starting obvious and making my way to the sneakier one. Number 5 is the one I held on to the longest because it disguised itself as something beautiful. I'm slightly embarrassed by how long it took me. We'll get there. Sign number 1. Other people's emotions become your personal emergency. Someone mentions they're stressed, and before they've finished the sentence, before you even know what kind of stressed, work-stressed, existential stressed, I ran out of oat milk stressed, you're already in the tunnel, tone adjusted, energy dimmed, mental calendar cleared, whatever you were doing, gone. What were you even doing? Doesn't matter. There's a mood in the room, and apparently, you're the first responder. The spiral runs like this. They say they're having a hard week. You immediately feel it in your chest. You soften your voice by approximately 40%. You mentally scan the last 72 hours for anything you might have done to contribute. You spend the next 2 hours carefully steering the conversation away from anything that might make it worse. You get home. You realize you never mentioned the thing you needed to talk about. The thing that's been sitting there for 3 days, waiting for the right moment. The moment that never arrives. Because there's always something. There's always someone else's thing that needs the room first. And the worst part? You're not even resentful. You're just tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Version 2 of this exact situation. They mention they're stressed. You say, that sounds really hard. Do you want to talk about it? And then you stay yourself, warm, present, but separate. Like a person standing beside someone rather than a person slowly becoming them. The difference between those 2 versions isn't how much you care. It's whether you're still in the room. Feeling what someone feels is empathy. Becoming the unpaid emotional contractor for their entire inner life is something else. Sign number 2. You edit yourself before anyone asks you to. You're about to say something, a need, an opinion, a preference that's small and reasonable and entirely yours. And the internal committee convenes immediately. Is this the right moment? Is this too much? Will this make things weird? Am I being difficult? Am I being needy? What if they think I'm... And somewhere in that meeting, the thing you were going to say gets voted down. It comes out smaller, or softer, or just doesn't come out at all. You tell yourself you're reading the room, being considerate, not burdening people. What you're actually doing is making an executive decision on behalf of someone who didn't ask, that your comfort matters less than theirs. Here's the specific detail that gets me. You're asked where you want to eat. You have a preference, actual preference, a real restaurant you want to go to. You say, I'm easy, wherever. They pick somewhere you don't love. You go. You order something fine. You say it was great. You mean it a little bit. And somewhere on the way home, there's this tiny, stupid, completely disproportionate sadness for a restaurant that you chose not to choose. Now multiply that. Every plan you deferred on, every opinion you softened, every need you pre-apologized into nothing. That's not consideration. That's a slow, voluntary disappearing act. The fix is almost insultingly small. Next time someone asks what you want, say the thing. Not because it always has to go your way, just to keep the record current to yourself. That you exist and have preferences, and both of those things are allowed. You can't be genuinely close to someone who's only ever met your edited version. Sign number 3. You feel guilty for having needs. Not specific needs. Needs as a concept. You need to cancel plans. Simple, neutral, a thing that humans do. But instead of sending the message, you spend 45 minutes in a guilt spiral of genuinely impressive proportions. You draft the text 4 times. You add qualifiers. You remove them. You add them back. You consider whether you should offer a reschedule in the same message, or if that seems presumptuous. You wonder if they'll think you're flaky. You wonder if you are flaky. You wonder if this is a pattern. You spiral briefly into a general audit of your reliability as a friend, a person, a presence on earth. Then you send, so sorry. I know this is the worst. I completely understand if you hate me for this. Reschedule whenever or literally never. No pressure, I'm the worst. Ignore everything I just said. They reply, no worries, next week. You spend another 20 minutes processing the mercy of that response. For canceling plans. Here's the thing. The apology in advance doesn't make the need smaller. It just broadcasts that you already expect the answer to be no. The move is almost aggressive in its simplicity. Say the need. Without the paragraph. Not, I'm so sorry to even ask this. I know you're busy. This is probably terrible timing. Just, hey, I need to cancel. Can we do next week? That's it. That's the whole message. It's allowed to be that short. Needing things isn't an imposition. It's just being a person. The apology is optional. Sign number 4. You keep giving chances long after you should have stopped. This one genuinely feels like maturity, and that's exactly what makes it sneaky. Someone cancels last minute for the 3rd time, and you think, they're probably going through something. They say something dismissive. You think, they're clearly stressed right now. They forget something that mattered to you. You think, they're overwhelmed, they didn't mean it. And here's the thing, you might be right. Every single time. People are complicated. Life is hard. Grace is real. But at some point, generous interpretation stops being a virtue and starts being a strategy, a way of protecting yourself from a conclusion you don't want to arrive at. Because if they're always going through something, if there's always context, always a reason, always a chapter of their life that explains the behavior, then you never have to ask the question underneath the question. Is this just who they are with me? You can hold full compassion for someone's circumstances and say, I get that things are hard, and I also notice this keeps happening. Both sentences in the same breath. The second one isn't unkind, it's just honest. Understanding why someone keeps hurting you is not the same thing as deciding it's okay. Sign number 5. You've started mistaking losing yourself for being a good person. Here it is, the one that hid from me the longest. You love someone, partner, friend, parent, whoever. And somewhere along the way, loving them started to mean slowly making yourself smaller around them. Not a dramatic moment, not a conversation. Just a gradual, quiet, completely deniable erosion. You stop mentioning the thing that bothers you. Once, then again, then it became policy. You softened an opinion because the disagreement felt like disloyalty. You let go of a friendship they were lukewarm about. You stopped doing the thing you used to love because it didn't quite fit inside the shape of the relationship. And you called all of it love, compromise, maturity, not being selfish. But here's the question that actually broke this open for me. Does the person you love know you're doing this? Because I'll tell you what happened when I finally said out loud that I'd been making myself smaller. The response wasn't gratitude. It wasn't relief that I'd finally accommodated enough. It was something closer to, why didn't you say something? I didn't want that. Most people worth loving don't want your disappearance. They didn't ask for it. You just started offering it because somewhere you learned that love meant being frictionless, easy, all softness, no edges. But a relationship that requires you to erase yourself isn't intimacy. It's just proximity to someone while you're not there. The return doesn't have to be a speech. It can be one small thing. The interest you quietly shelved, the opinion you stopped sharing, the plan you stopped suggesting because you talked yourself out of it before you'd even said it. Bring one of those back, just one. You can't give yourself fully to someone if you've already given yourself away. Here's what this video is actually about. Not empathy, not fixing it, not becoming less caring. It was about the specific unnamed exhaustion of being someone who gives generously and genuinely, and somewhere stopped counting themselves as one of the people worth giving to. Empathy with no floor isn't a virtue, it's a leak, and you can care deeply about people and still refuse to drain yourself for them. Those two things don't contradict each other. They were always supposed to coexist. The most generous version of you isn't the one with no needs. It's the one who knows what they are. Pick one sign from today, one, and do the version where you stay in the room, not as a revolution, just as a reminder. You were always supposed to be on the list too. Let me know if this helped by hitting subscribe. I'm sure you'll find what you need to see in some of the other videos on my channel. Otherwise, see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.